All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual set to headline BKFC Prospect Series Edmonton, which goes down on August the 31st. And a very intriguing fight as Sonny Smith set to knuckle up and toe the line against Drew Stuvo. And very excited to have Drew on Bare Knuckle Bowker to talk a bit about that fight and just his general combat sports career overall. How are you doing, man?
Good buddy, how you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. And just seems like there's a lot heading into this. I mean, like I said, from the top headlining bout here and everything like that, like, I mean, that must be a huge one. Like, when did you kind of get word that you'd be top in the marquee for this event, as it were?
That's crazy, man. Like this is only my third pro fight, and to headline the event's pretty exciting. I talked to my coach. He told me it was going to be either me or Hassan headlining the event, and then but they wanted it to be me because I want to fight Sonny Smith. Like I sparred him at the tryouts. I think I could beat this guy for sure, and he has some bare knuckle experience. And they had an opponent for Hassan, but he only had one or I think one bare knuckle fight. So they said they were going to give it to me just because the guy I'm fighting is a bit more experienced. So it's a bit better for the headliner, and he gets the co-main event. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you kind of mentioned that there with, the dynamics with Hassan. It seems like there's some great like Wolfhouse representation on these cards and just like some of the guys connected to Ryan Ford and everything like that. So yeah, it's just been cool to see. It seemed like that was the case on the last card with like, Chad Lucanis and everything like that. And obviously Hassan and yourself on this card. Like it seems like the first couple of Canadian cards really have that Wolfhouse kind of presence.
Yeah, we have even more this time. I think there's like six, seven, maybe even eight Wolfhouse guys. Like this whole card's going to be Wolfhouse, basically. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I always love that, man. Like, there's something to the whole thing where, I mean, as much as combat sports is ultimately individual, like in the body of the competition, it seems like there's really that certain driving force to when guys kind of have their individual assignments kind of lined up on the same night and everything.
Yeah, man. We have a solid team at Wolfhouse too. Like me, Chad, and Hassan, we train together every day pretty much. We're all pretty good friends. So like I feel like we're like an actual team, you know? Like lots of gyms, they don't have that like that feeling where you're like you're a team. It's more individual. But us, like we have that feeling where you're an actual team. You all work together, and you go through everything together. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you been at some other gyms where, and not to like throw shade per se, but I'm just wondering if you have that kind of anecdotal experience where maybe you've been at some prior gyms where it seems like kind of like an individualistic, like as much as everyone's under the same roof, it's like everyone's kind of just in their own individual lane doing their thing, whereas like this experience feels like more of like a unified communal sort of thing almost.
Yeah, the gym I was with before Wolfhouse, it felt a lot more like that. Like it was like I was just doing my own thing. Like obviously we spar together and stuff, but we didn't train together the way we do at Wolfhouse. We're like a brotherhood at Wolfhouse. It's so much different. I've been with Wolfhouse for like 6 or 7 years now, and honestly don't see myself going anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you guys seem like you're doing such great things. I mean, you kind of referenced Hassan before, like he got such a massive finish on that first
Yeah.
Canadian card that they did and stuff like that. And yeah, no, it's just super cool. And I mean, you got an impressive victory as well. Like, I mean, it was kind of interesting because I'd seen in some interviews you were kind of like, oh, he was sort of like intimating that he had an ankle injury, but like I just, knocked him down. But like, what were your thoughts on that overall debut performance in bare knuckle? It seemed like an emphatic win with the first round finish and all.
Honestly, I feel like it could have been a lot better. I feel like that guy robbed me of my chance of getting a good finish because he just opted out of the fight. Like I hit him with that punch and it kind of landed like behind his ear and he fell like into me. So it was either like I'm going back down with him or I turned him off me. So obviously I turned him off me. And like you could see they replayed it like 20 times on the when you watch it on the BKFC app. And there was no ankle roll. There's nothing to do with his ankle at all. And then like you can even see when he went down, he got up on one knee. He was like he was hurt. He was rocked. And then all of a sudden he starts grabbing his ankle. And like I rewatched it and like they were gonna disqualify me for it. Luckily the ref went back and looked and even he was like, there's no ankle roll. So I'm glad they made the right decision there. But I went to the back after to get stitched up, and he was in the back too. And I heard him talking to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Well, if your ankle's that bad and hurts that much, we should probably send you to the hospital to get an X-ray done." And he goes, "No, no, it's all good. I'll just go back to my family doctor when I get back home." And then someone I know saw him in the casino later that night, said he wasn't limping, he was walking perfectly fine. So that guy just wanted out of that fight.
I guess that's maybe like a weird allure of fighting at a venue like the River Cree. You can kind of just go over and get to the gambling and drinks or whatever your persuasion is, I guess.
Yeah, it's funny. It's fun fighting there because you fight, everybody's in the venue, and then everybody piles out into the casino and has a good time after and celebrates in the casino. So it's a fun spot to fight.
Yeah, I've been there as like a media personality, like covering different unified MMA events they've had there. It's a
But
great venue, and it's cool that they're running it back at this venue for this next card here too.
yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, I think they have to because we're not allowed to have fights in Edmonton. So since that whole thing with Tim Hague happened like 5, 6 years ago, so it's kind of we have to have it on the native land, right?
Yeah, that's kind of been the case. I mean, I feel like it usually gets billed like for promotional purposes as Edmonton, but yeah, it is technically in that Enoch
Yeah,
territory and
it's an
whatnot.
exactly. It's not technically not in the city.
Yeah, and that was kind of something that I guess this is kind of like a sidebar a bit, but I remember I'd talked to David Feldman years ago about the, I guess, potential to come into Canada, and I was thinking that that market would be kind of receptive to it and stuff like that. Like, just I feel like that, I guess the regulatory landscape in Canada and how things kind of go, I was like, I feel like this part of Alberta would probably be able to like oversee this kind of event. And he sort of like gave me a bit of a smile, like almost like it was already in the works. So just kind of cool how it's played out a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah, of course, man. You know, the blue collar fucking farm boys and oil field workers down here love to watch guys throw down, especially bare knuckle.
Yeah, it seemed like there was like such a demand for it from the fans. Like I was talking to Hassan about that just yesterday there, and just even the media, I guess, presence to it. Like he was doing some CBC Edmonton work, and I saw that you were on CTV News, like the morning show with Ryan Ford
Yeah.
talking about it. So yeah, just so cool to see that kind of, I guess, tangible enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, it's crazy too. Like I've been to tons of events at the River Cree, like boxing, MMA, and man, I have never seen an event as loud and as like hyped up as the bare knuckle event was here. Like it was so much louder. Even just being in the back waiting a fight, like it was so loud in there, it was insane.
Yeah, no, super cool, man. Great to see all of that come together. And I know we were talking about how Wolfhouse is like the primary space and everything like that, and just such a great gym for you. But I'd actually seen circa last September you were getting in some rounds with former BYB lightweight champion Mark Irwin at Bobby's
Yeah.
Boxing. Like, it's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, you guys were working with the gloves and whatnot, but even back then, was there some level of picking his brain about bare knuckle at all? Or
Yeah, man. Like when I went down and sparred with him, so we just had each other on Instagram for years. He followed me quite a while back, and we've chatted on and off in the DM. And I went on vacation. We took my sister to Disneyland for her 30th birthday. So we went down there, and I remembered that Mark lived in the area. So I looked at where his gym was, and it was like 15, 20 minutes from where I was staying in Anaheim. So I messaged him. I was like, I'm down in California. You want to get some work in? And he was like, hell yeah, come to the gym. So we had 2 days there where we sparred. And then I had no idea I was going to do bare knuckle. Like I'd never even considered it or even really looked into it. And then like shortly after I got the rounds in with him, like maybe a month later, we were told that they were going to do the BKFC tryouts, and they ended up being at Wolfhouse. And then they did that little like episode where they pick a couple fighters and they do like a profile on you. And we went to like a theater and did like what's it called? We did like acting and just like kind of messing around. And they chose me to be one of the fighters in there. So after that, I was like, fuck, I guess I'm doing bare knuckle.
Yeah, because you obviously have the gloved boxing pedigree from what I was seeing. Like you'd won the Alberta provincials and 16 amateur fights, I believe, two-time Golden Gloves champion, and you had your pro gloved boxing debut in Mexico. So it's kind of cool how like bare knuckle came on your radar almost by circumstance, almost.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's funny. Like a year ago from right now, I would have never imagined I'd be fighting bare knuckle, and then now I'm about to headline a bare knuckle event. So it's just crazy how things work out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it seemed like you had also came from other athletics before even getting into combat sports. Like I'm pretty sure you played junior hockey in Stony Plain
Yeah,
at one point, correct?
yeah. I played hockey my whole life. I started playing hockey when I was 4 years old. I played my 16-year-old season, junior B in Stony Plain, and then when I was 17, I went down and played junior A in Dallas, Texas. Played half the year out there, and then came back and finished the season with the Campbell River Storm, junior B in the on Vancouver Island. And then I was gonna play again, and I was talking to a couple of colleges, gonna play college, and then I don't know, I just got tired of it and decided I was done with hockey, and then I kind of started boxing like shortly after that.
Yeah, because I'd seen that I think it was like around 18 that you had decided to start training. Like, how did you, I guess, even get directed to a boxing gym? Like, was it like someone kind of put it on your radar, or like there was some intrigue that was sparked in you to try it out, or?
First ever, I was driving and they had a big tent set up. We had the those UFC gyms. You
Yeah,
heard of
yeah.
those? Yeah, so
Yep.
there was a tent set up because there was a new UFC gym opening up. So I just stopped by just to check it out. And then I started going to a UFC gym just kind of for fun. Like I grew up, I was always fighting growing up. I wasn't a bad kid. I was never really getting in trouble other than for fighting. I was always getting in trouble for fighting. So I always just enjoyed it, weirdly enough. And then, so yeah, I went and did that thing at the UFC gym and ended up getting a membership. I went there for about 6 months, and then it was in Sherwood Park though, which is like kind of out of the city from me, so it was a bit of a drive. And then on my way to work every day, I used to drive by a boxing gym. So I decided to pop in there one day, and then I ended up having my first amateur fight with them after like 2 months of training there. And then yeah, the rest is history. I just stuck with it for the last like 8, 9 years ever since.
Yeah, it seemed like you were fighting for like, I mean, certain reasons though when you were younger, from what I could tell. Like you referenced your sister. It seemed like you were like really kind of sticking up for her against some jerks, we could say. I mean, the kind of language I want to use probably get my video flagged on YouTube, but yeah, it seemed like there was a reason for it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I grew up with a mentally handicapped sister, and I grew up in a little redneck town, West Alberta, Western Alberta, by right in between Edmonton and Jasper. It's called Edson. So yeah, my sister was always getting picked on and stuff, and fuck, it used to drive me crazy. So I was always getting in fights and stuff because of that.
Yeah, no, fair play, man. It's just crazy how cruel some kids can be. But I mean, kind of led you down a bit of an interesting path, and it was cool. You were talking about how you like went to Disney World and stuff like that. I bet that was like a fun time for everyone involved.
Oh yeah, she loves Disney, man. It's actually her birthday this weekend, so I'm gonna go out to see her. I gotta go stop and pick her up a couple birthday gifts later today. So, but yeah, she loves Disney and all that shit. She's literally like she's turning 31, but she got like the mind of like a 7 or 8 year old. So she's lots of fun. She's super like always happy. Like doesn't ignorance is bliss, man. She doesn't know about any of the bad shit in the world. She just knows what she likes, and she's always happy. It's crazy to see someone like that. You're feeling kind of down and out, and you're not feeling good, and then you go look at someone who has so many disabilities and they're still so happy. It kind of makes you look like think twice and be like, okay, like if she can be happy, like fuck, why am I not happy, right?
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I was thinking when you were saying that. Like it probably imparts like a certain perspective and whatnot.
It does for sure, man.
No, I love that. And it's just, yeah, it's been so cool. I guess like kind of pivoting back to something you were saying earlier, because like I almost didn't even know about this. Like you had actually sparred Sonny Smith at the tryouts. Like, what did you, I guess, glean from that experience where you felt confident you could beat him? Like, I mean, like I imagine the tryouts were probably done in like a gloved sense, obviously, but like,
Yeah.
what did you glean from that experience where you were like, yeah, I could probably like throw down and beat this guy in bare knuckle?
I know it's different, bare knuckle. Like getting hit with bare knuckles a lot different than getting hit with gloves, but like boxing with gloves on, like our sparring was very one-sided. So, I nothing against the guy. Like I chatted with him, he's a good dude, but I got to go in there and we got to try and take each other's heads off. And I'm fucking confident that I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna get the win. I'm gonna get my BKFC contract, and then hopefully I'm gonna get on a big card in the States. I want to put Canada on the map for bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah, I love that. I guess kind of like, I don't know, I guess the inference I'm kind of making, like you didn't necessarily say this, but it seems like from what I've seen, as much as he's had like a few bare knuckle fights, like his background is kind of like MMA centric, whereas as what we were talking about, yours is more boxing centric. Like, was it like you just felt like you really had like the range and implemented the jab well and like just had that more boxing specific footwork where you felt like you had the upper hand on him in that prior instance, I guess?
Yeah, I feel like the footwork was a big difference. Like just dance around him. Like that's one thing I've always had is really good footwork and fast hands. And like just when we sparred, I just felt like he couldn't touch me. Like a good defense, good head movement. And he seemed very like MMA, right? They don't like it's different. The footwork is a lot different. So and like one thing with him is he fought out of BKB, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what's weird. Like I'm out of boxing, but I'm really really good, and I shouldn't be because I have long reach. I shouldn't even be fighting inside, but I'm really good at fighting inside and fighting in the clinch. Whereas like BKB, they like as soon as you clinch up, pretty much in BKB they split it up. It's not like BKFC where like they really let you fight in the clinch, and that's like my bread and butter. So I feel like I have the upper hand in almost every aspect aside from like a little bit experience wise with bare knuckle, but I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a fight that makes sense for both of you at this point. Like he obviously had that BKFC fight that I felt like didn't reflect his overall level, but I get
No,
what you mean. Like there was like rule distinctions between BKB and BKFC. So I mean, in a way, it kind of just like makes sense for like the sophomore fight here for, I mean, really both of you under the BKFC banner.
100%. Yeah, I think it does really make sense for both of us. And like one thing I'm happy about is I know he's tough and he comes to fight. He's not gonna come and fucking bitch out like that last guy I fought. So I know he's gonna show up to fight. I'm gonna show up to fight, and I know we're gonna put on a good show. It's gonna be a good main event.
Yeah, and you talk about wanting like more of like a main stage kind of fight. And I mean, it seems like part of that was, I mean, just the broader awareness that that would bring. And like you said, really putting Canada on the map. But it also seems like on these like Prospect or even like some of the fight night shows, they'll use like the smaller dimensions with the ring as opposed to like the, slightly bigger rings with like the main stage BKFC shows. Like just being that you have that boxing background and we're talking about like the footwork and the ability to kind of, I guess, move and implement the game plan in that kind of regard. Like, do you think like the main stage BKFC fights would also show some of your tools in that sense more so, as well as like the, I guess, brand awareness, quote unquote, kind of component to getting to that stage?
Yeah, man. Fuck, I can't wait to fight in the big ring. Like it was really hard for me to showcase my skills. And like, man, that ring we fought in is like a phone booth. Especially me, like I'm a taller, lankier guy. I remember going in the ring before the fight just to feel it out. And I take one step back from the middle and I'm pretty much on the ropes. Like there's nowhere to go in there. I understand, like, especially for the prospects, they want you to fight. They don't want you running around, and they want you to show like your toughness and what you got. But like I want to fight in that big ring because that's where I'm really gonna show like my skills, like my head movement, my footwork. Like it was really hard. You saw it in my last fight. Like, yeah, it was only a minute. Fuck, I got 3 cuts. I got 15 stitches. So like fighting in the big ring is gonna make a big difference for me. So I need to get this win and then get a fight in the States and show everybody that this is where I belong, especially in the big ring.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting. I feel like we see some guys who can still put on exciting fights in those bigger rings. Like I feel like sometimes people just have that immediate distinction drawn where it's like the smaller ring automatically equates to like a more, I mean, I guess it depends on what your idea of an exciting fight is. Like I feel like the smaller kind of combat spaces, like usually companies that utilize that will have that higher kind of finishing rate, but I feel like there's exciting fights to be had in bigger rings. Like I feel like a good guy we've seen really adapt to that and showcase that kind of exciting aspect is the current welterweight champion Austin Trout.
Yeah, yeah, man. Like that's the thing with the small ring. I feel like it forces you to it's a brawl half the time it turns into because there's no space, so you kind of just have to bang it out, right? Whereas like that fight with Trout and Palomino, like he really showcased his boxing skills because he had room to move and really utilize his footwork. Where it's tough to do that in the small ring because there's no room to really utilize it. So you kind of just have to fight.
Yeah, for sure. And we'd kind of mentioned Ryan Ford before, just like kind of the associations with him and stuff like that. And I talked to Hassan about that as well. I feel like he should be getting in the ring at some point. I've actually talked to him a few times, actually at the River Cree, kind of tying it all together. And even back then, this was circa, God, what year was that? Like maybe like even 2017, 2018. Like he was talking about wanting to take part in some bare knuckle boxing. So it'd be cool to see him at some point in there as well.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I feel like for sure we will maybe see him in there sooner than later.
Yeah, no, I'd love to, set up a chat with him again ahead of that and everything like that. But yeah, I was also seeing and kind of doing my research, and I guess I'm wondering if you're, still getting up to this. I understand you're a barber. Like, is that something you're still kind of getting up to and whatnot as well?
Yeah, look at this. This is my home. This is my home barber shop right here.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, yeah. I actually part owned a barber shop with the guy here in Edmonton, and I sold it to pursue fighting. So I wasn't sure I was gonna open my own shop. I ended up buying into this shop, and then I just decided, you know what, like it's either all or not. Like fighting, you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got to go all in. I'm at the age now where it's either I do it or I don't. And I decided I don't ever want to look back and be like, I wish that I did this. I wish that I went all in and at least gave it a shot. So I was like, I'm going to do it. So I just cut hair out of my house now part time, and then training is my full time job now.
No, cool to hear that you have that like extra, I guess, income coming in, but in a way where you can prioritize the fighting predominantly. So love to hear that.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. Like I book my clients around all my training and stuff, and so it goes hand in hand with fighting. It's good because lots of people, they don't have that luxury of being able to just work when they want to work. They got to be somewhere from this time to this time. Where me, like I can just if I got training, I just book a slot off in my schedule, and people can't book that time.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I guess like one of the last kind of questions that I had, I guess I'm kind of curious if you maybe curate your camps or general preparation any differently from what you did in gloved boxing to what you're doing in bare knuckle. Like I know this is like the second fight in the BKFC journey, but is there anything that you do that might be different? Like I've talked to some people who come from a gloved boxing background and they basically talk about how they almost have to be conscious of not over relying on the guard that the gloves provide and certain, I guess,
Yeah,
idiosyncrasies like that. Like how would you say a gloved boxing camp differs from a bare knuckle camp?
100%, man. Like you have that surface area with the gloves to block shots, right? You don't have that in bare knuckles. So, I work on my head movement a lot more than as opposed to just blocking. And we've been doing a lot of clinch work, like a lot, way more than I've ever done. So a lot of that, a lot of like inside fighting, holding the guy's head, getting the underhooks and the overhooks. Like it's this camp specifically, just because we're a bit more experienced now. We know what to do, what to expect a bit more now. So it's a lot different than my last camp. So I'm definitely working a lot more on like the clinching and like kind of a little bit of the wrestling stuff. Like we've been doing a little bit of wrestling training just to help with the clinching.
Yeah, it was kind of cool earlier how you mentioned that like active clinch fighting is sort of your bread and butter. I mean, kind of speaks to like the work you've been doing, I guess, as of late, like since you kind of began the bare knuckle journey.
It's funny because like I've always loved, like I just have that dog in me, I just like to fight. So I've always had that, like I like to be inside and just bang. And my coaches always gave me shit for that because I'm a tall guy, I'm long, so like use your reach, man. You don't need to fight on the inside. Whereas now, like they almost they want me to do that now because it's better for bare knuckle, like especially in the small ring. Like definitely in the big ring, it's easier to just get away and use my reach. But like in this small ring, like there's nowhere to go. So utilizing that inside work is it's a big part of it now, and it's going to help me a lot in this fight for sure.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to check out this fight, man. But I also did want to be mindful of your time and your schedule, Drew. It's been great getting some insights from you, but curious if maybe you had a final thought you wanted to add as we're wrapping up, man. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on the show, man, and hopefully we'll see you at the fights. We'll have a chat after I get the big win. And yeah, I got no worries, man. I hope Sonny Smith is working as hard as I am because I've been fucking working my ass off. Like I said, this is my job now. So, I'm training twice a day, every day. So,
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great headliner. It's like a couple days after my birthday, too, actually. So, yeah, people should be,
perfect.
yeah, peeping that on August 31st for sure. This BKFC Prospect Series. I know they're billing it as Edmonton, but like we said, it's out there in Enoch. But in any event, thanks so much for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker ahead of this Sonny Smith fight and looking forward to peeping it when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Drew. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, man. Take care.